Hello, my name's Maggie, and you're watching Pretty Guardian Gaming. And today I'm very excited to be telling you about my new book. It is called Sorceress of the Radiant Skies. And I'm doing this in a serialized format where I'll be releasing a new chapter every Wednesday, and it's available for free over on the Royal Road platform. So in today's video, I'm going to be telling you a little bit about my book, and at the end, I'll also give you some recommendations of other books that you can go and read. Whether you're experienced with Royal Road or it's your first time hearing about it, you'll leave today's video with some fun stuff that you can go and look at. So I have been a lover of the written word my entire life. I love to read, I love to write. As a kid, my grandma bought me a typewriter, and I just love the sound of those keystrokes as I would create these fantastic stories. I had kind of a rough childhood, but I could always pick up a book and just transport myself to another world. I published my first book back in 2018 as part of the Kindle Scout program, and this is my second one. I had had a lot of ideas kind of toying around in my noggin for a long time. One of the things that is a recurring element in this story has to do with a sickness caused by this miasma. And it's basically like a toxic magic waste that has covered the whole planet and is creating monsters and making people sick. And really, I had pulled a lot of inspiration from Final Fantasy IX, how they had the mist that was creating monsters. And then more recently, playing through Atelier Yumia, they had this miasma that would siphon away your mana, and you would have to dispel the miasma in order to explore and uncover different areas of the map. And then obviously going through COVID-19 kind of made this idea a little more prescient in my mind. But in 2024, I was listening to Brandon Sanderson give one of his writing lectures where he talked about if you were to write as few as 250 words a day, at the end of a year, you would have an entire 80,000 word plus novel, and then you do that for 10 years. Suddenly you have 10 novels. Now you have a really good library of work under you. And I just thought about it and I was like, 250 words? That's like a long text message. That's a short business email. I can for sure write 250 words. And in my mind, I was like, if I can't write 250 words a day, can I even call myself a writer? And I wouldn't hold that standard to other people. It's just one of those things where it's like, I know what I'm capable of, and I know the story that's in my heart. And hearing it broken down in that sort of way kind of made me go like, okay, this is one of those big tasks that seems big until you actually break it down into these small pieces. And I can do those small pieces, which means I can do the big pieces too. And you know what? I did. So Sorceress of the Radiant Skies, it's going to be about 80,000 words when it's complete. The exact length might vary a little bit depending on editing and revisions and kind of how things go when we get there. I'm not locked into that number, but that's about what I have right now. The story was really inspired by progression fantasy. I wanted to take this character, her name is Eris Eldine, and she is a novice arcanist. And really it's about her slowly learning about the secrets of this post-apocalyptic sort of fairy tale world that she's in. As she does, her magic blossoms and she kind of figures out what it means to be a sorceress and what she wants to do with that power. It does not have explicit like power levels and things like that you would find in lit RPG specifically. But as an avid gamer and fan of RPGs, I'm obviously pulling from that same sort of well. There's a lot of elements that I think you could compare to Dungeons and Dragons or like Final Fantasy and the Atelier series or some of these other JRPGs that I've mentioned. In that similar vein as like the Atelier series, in my mind, I was almost kind of thinking about like a slice of life sort of thing, just kind of about her doing research and studying and developing her powers and all that. But these other plot elements that were at the front of my mind kind of creep their way back in. And it's not so much creep, it's all planned. I am a plotter. I wrote out the whole outline for the book before I wrote it. Although there's a few points where things kind of deviate, I like to still give my characters room to breathe and make decisions that at least in my mind at the time of writing them, felt organic to them, even if it wasn't part of the original plan. So as those elements kind of emerge naturally in the story, you'll see that there's a much bigger, like, planetary and even interplanetary plot that's happening. There will be lots of fight scenes inspired by both epic fantasy and shonen anime, thinking about different matchups between these wizarding and magical heroes. My goal long term is for this to be part of a trilogy. I'm going to be writing the first 2 books back to back, and then I might take a break to write a slightly shorter novel that is still set in the same, like, universe, but is, like, completely separate from this, like, main storyline that's happening. I am kind of thinking maybe something like leaning towards Pokemon or something else that kind of sparks my fantasy. And then I'll come back and wrap things up with book 3. I would love to do more stuff in this Sorceress universe that I'm creating as well. I could see if this is something that gains some popularity online. I could do an audiobook. I have a lot of connections with different voice actors and stuff from my YouTube experience. And then I was also considering turning it into a video game. So I could potentially do like an old school style RPG or a visual novel using this as the source material. This first book took me about 1 year and 5 months to write. I kind of anticipate that the second one will probably take a similar amount of time to write. I had to do this while also working a full-time job, not like me saying like, oh, woe is me. This is like a tale as old as time. Every writer has to start somewhere, and a lot of times that means that they're working full-time or juggling other priorities as they're getting their writing in. So for me, that looked like on my lunch breaks, I was busting out my phone and seeing how much I could type out. Or during my commutes, I was seeing how much I could type out. I had notebooks that I would put my little notes in. I think I actually have like some scraps of an outline right there. So it's like stuff that's always on my mind, and I'm always trying to like sneak in that word count every chance that I can get, because that's the only way that you make 80,000 words happen. So this is a story that's from my heart. One of the things that they always tell you in writing is to write what you know, and I pulled deep for this story. It might not always show it, but I think in specific moments you'll really see it. It helped me to process through the pandemic, through losing my father last year, and lots of other things that have been going on in my life. Overall, I like to hope that it has an optimistic tone. You'll definitely see lots of archetypes of familiar characters from like Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland, and kind of different fairy tales and things incorporated into this story. So it's going to be a lot of fantastic fun, and I'm so excited to share it with you. So with that, I also have a Discord server. I'll be leaving a link to that in the description box of this video. I would love for you to come join. We can talk about books, we can talk about video games, we can talk about everything nerdy and fantastic, and just build a supportive and friendly community around those shared interests. I'll also leave you a link to my story over on Royal Road. And last but not least, I am going to tell you about a few of the fun stories that I have been following over there as well. To tell you a little bit more about Royal Road, it is a website where you can read fiction mostly for free from mostly independent authors. And it's a pretty cool website with lots of great stories on there. So I wanted to tell you about a few of the stories that I have been reading through. And the first one is Lost and Found, an episode from the life and times of a serial villainess. Isekai and lit RPG are pretty much like the top genres on this website. And in this story, it's about a girl named Mira. She keeps being reborn as the villainess in these different video games. Evil Empress, backstabbing noblewoman, or high school mean girl. She's been them all, and this time is no different. And in this one, you can expect an OP protagonist who must overcome the challenge of being nerfed by her new body, mystery as Mira uncovers the difference between fiction and her new reality, found family, and a Belle Epoque flavored magical realism. This one is very professionally written, and R.A. Scott is such a cool author. I would definitely recommend checking it out. Then we have The Duke's Reborn Daughter Sometimes Chooses Violence. Ezra Vane, most only know her as the White Ghost, a duke's daughter who never even leaves her room, a girl fated to die in obscurity if only someone didn't reincarnate into her body. The new Ezra has no interest in being a ghost. She wants to enjoy her new life. There's one problem. Everywhere she looks, she finds that something needs fixing, and she can't just let someone else do it, even if it means breaking fingers to get answers, even if it means using a traumatized girl as an assassin, even if it means never getting to enjoy being a duke's daughter in the first place. And the last story that I wanted to tell you about today is called Paradise Delayed by J.W. Gibson. This one is a lit RPG about a man named Andy Parsons who dies suddenly. As his life flashes before his eyes, he realized that he was profoundly unfulfilled. And he is reborn into this sort of video game system. I mean, this is pretty typical lit RPG type stuff. It goes through him training and building up his levels. We have a male MC, weak to strong progression, typical fantasy RPG trappings, and a slow-ish burn at first. I would say that this is like the comfort food of lit RPG stories. It's fun and easy to jump into, and I would definitely recommend it. All right, thank you so much for watching along today and for listening to me gush to you about my new story. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me in all of the places because I am so excited to connect with you. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, this is Pretty Guardian, logging out.